You've just stepped into the Buzzy's Country Store podcast, part-time porch talk, part-time therapy session, and all heart. I'm Chief Larry, and along with your host, J Scott Ridgell, we're serving up real stories with a Buzzy's twist.
Hello, welcome to the Buzzy Podcast. Chief Larry and I are very happy today to have Kay Cullison Carter here, and Kay and I could talk about a number of subjects for a number of days probably, but today we're going to just talk her career in restaurants. And the way this came up was we were at lunch one day and you mentioned flipping burgers at the El Charles at 16, and I went, wow, I don't even remember the El Charles having serving food. How'd you get that job? Was that a summer?
I'm not really sure. I guess just because it was on the side of the road, and back then both parents worked. If you wanted a car and if you wanted any money, you better go to work. So
and was that
I went,
Charles Raley? Or
no,
Charles Norris?
It was Charles Norris, yes.
Yeah, Charles Raley was L.G. and Clark, is their father.
Right.
And then Eleanor and Charles Norris, is that L. Charles?
Yep.
So what, do you remember what you got paid?
I do not remember what I got paid. The earliest I remember what I got paid was $1.25 an hour, and that was at Stone's Insurance in Great Mills.
Okay.
So it was probably less than that because that was way
I'll
earlier.
Bet. Now, so that was your start in the restaurant business.
Was at the
but
El
now,
Charles.
Was as your background, mom or dad or nobody? You never grew up in a restaurant or nothing. You just sort of
enjoyed
kind of
people and cooking and just socializing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, then you said you went from there. You moved on up to Pearls.
Actually, I went to Charles Donald's to the little Blue House for a while and did ice cream and burgers there for a while.
Now you're talking at the end of Curly.
At the end of Curly Road.
I remember that too.
Yes. So then I had saved a little money. I bought a 61 Red Comet from Bill Carnes. Mm-hmm. Recap blew out on the way home that day.
But the day you bought it.
But anyway, I had my license, so I went to work for Pearl at 16
now,
or 17.
Now, she was right there next to
where the flashback is now, across from the Piccolo.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And that was just a little like
just
cafe.
a little countertop.
And
no
I don't
tables.
think I remember her. Was she like a small lady?
She was little. Paul and Bert Bales, yes. She was a little teeny lady. Her husband's name was Bert.
Oh.
Bert Bales.
Oh, see, I never knew all that.
Bert Bales.
So were you cooking or waitressing or?
I was doing both.
Everything.
And serving ice cream. Yep.
And you did that kind of like.
Because that was a counter. They did have a couple little tables, but that was mostly counter because it was a narrow place.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
And you did that, so you did that on weekends?
Nope, I did that every day.
Every day?
Every day. I did that every day after school. And then all summer I worked for her. I worked for her from 66 to 68. And
2 years.
2 years, and she was right on it. She wanted you to do it and to do it right, and she was a good mentor for me.
I was getting ready to say that. That sounded like isn't it funny, coaches, teachers, the hardest ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Are the best usually.
Yep.
So where'd you go after that?
After that, I went to Harry Lundeberg School of Seamanship, and I bartended there, and I waitressed there.
Ah, I didn't even know they served food in there.
Yeah, back then, mostly the people there.
Right.
So I didn't stay there long because they weren't very nice people, and their language was a little out of it for me.
Well, you're dealing with merchant seamen probably.
So, and I don't know if you remember Wookie Watson, Mary Watson, and Ralph Watson. They lived on St. George's Island. Well, Wookie was working over there too. And so one day we had just had enough, and we said, okay, we're out of here. So we went over to the LCD, and Gloria hired us both. Wookie stayed 2 weeks. I stayed 10 years because Gloria was a piece of work.
I know
Pinky was very, very mild-mannered guy, and you could work with Pinky.
Now, the connection, I know people don't know this, but Pinky and Gloria were my neighbors.
I know that.
I moved in 79, and right away got along with Pinky. And I think my first interaction with Gloria was, what in the hell, you get this out of my yard? I mean, Gloria was...
Yes. She was...
Once I got to know her, she was okay.
Yeah, she was.
But my problem with her is... Dad sold liquor at the time. He was a liquor salesman. And the first thing she told me was Buzzy Ridgell your father? I said, yeah. And she said, I never cared much for him. And I go, oh, yeah? What? And she goes, he was always trying to sell me something I didn't need or want, and I had to throw his butt out of the place more than once. And so I asked Dad about it. I said, you and Gloria had some problems? He said, just couldn't deal with her. So that was kind of mutual. But you know the deal.
Oh, yeah.
He's a salesman. He's in there to talk up and try to sell things.
Sure.
And Gloria was a no-nonsense kind of gal.
Let me tell you, she would tell me, she would leave me a list because I used to get there like 5:30 in the morning because Chicago Bridge and Iron was building those tanks at Stewart's. So we fed all those guys breakfast in the morning, Pinky and I. He did the cooking.
What time did you go in?
5:30.
Whoa.
So at 6 o'clock, we opened, and those guys came in. We fed them breakfast. We packed them a bag lunch to take with them when they went. And, and Gloria would say, you do this, you do this. And several times she would say, you didn't do what I told you. I said, Gloria, I did. And she would swear I did not. So twice or maybe 3 times in that 10 years, I left. I went to work for Evans one time. Then I went to Lexington Park to the Brass Ass for a little while.
Yep.
And then after about a weekend or so, Pinky called me and said, Kay, please come back. He said, we really need you to come back. So I went back every time. I stayed.
Because Pinky.
I stayed 10 years, but it was always Pinky that came and, yep.
Well, now, I'm not tracking your timeline, but I've read somewhere that Pinky they sold in 79.
Right. I
Does
say
that-
I worked
does that
there
sound right?
69 to 79. Yep.
Okay,
When
so
they
you-
sold, I left.
Okay.
And I say the Evans bought it then, and it was called the Clipper.
Went to the Clipper.
And I stayed there not very long at all.
At the Clipper.
At the Clipper, yeah. I worked for them
Well, then,
briefly.
where'd you go then?
And after the Clipper, I actually went to the work for the Bank of Baltimore.
Oh, I remember
in
Savings
St.
Bank of
Mary
Baltimore.
Square from 79 to 82. And then I went to Scheibel's, and I worked the front of the house, looking out for the waitresses, maitre d', and doing the cash register and all that. And I stayed there
Was that with Bruce and Sally?
with Bruce and Sally till 2004.
Okay. Well, at least you got back to Ridge finally.
And then in 2004, they leased it to Darren West.
Right.
And I worked for Darren, running the front of the house till 2008. And then in 2008, I took it over after
Right.
Darren left. And I was there till 2011. And then they sold
Right.
to Mike Haney.
Right.
And
I remember
didn't-
Mike.
I didn't work for Mike Haney,
Well, he wasn't, I liked him, but I never felt like I don't want to talk bad about him,
Right,
but he never
right.
really struck me like he wanted to be there
Right.
or
right.
that I don't know what
It was.
he was up to.
It was a relative.
One of those deals?
Right.
He was
so
running
I'm
it
not
for,
sure. Yes.
running it
yes,
for someone.
For Debbie, and I'm not sure what relative she was now. I don't really know.
So let's go back to Bruce and Sally. Sally, I tell people, particularly people now that go down C-450 and talk about it, but I talk about when it was a fishing center and they had it going on.
We had people waiting an hour outside on
yeah.
the weekends in line
Yes,
for a
yes,
seat.
I remember doing that. Now they always used to, not crab balls, they were crabettes.
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 Yes.
You didn't call them
Crabettes.
crab balls.
Nope, crabettes. Yep.
And then with the motel and the fishing pier
Yep.
and the head boats.
And the motels were $69 a night. Held 3 people with 3 single beds in each motel, and they were always full.
Well,
you
those
know.
fishing parties. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Swans was the same
Oh,
way
yeah.
over my way when they were in their heyday.
Yep.
As far as these fishermen, I don't know why they got to go fishing so early.
Right,
Well, the fish,
right.
but that's another
Yep.
subject.
And Nancy Pratt and Kathy Foote would be in there early because they would fry up a whole tub of fried chicken and stuff to send out on the boats every day. They would pack them lunch for whoever was going on the boat.
Did the people buy and pay for it, or was that part of the?
No, the people bought and paid for
and,
it.
and
I'm
took
pretty
it
sure.
with them
Right.
because
took
they
it
were going
with
to be
them
out there all
all
day.
day. Yep.
Wow. And then how late did they stay open? As far as they did dinners in the evening, right? Sally ran the kitchen,
Yep.
and then
I don't remember
Yeah.
what the time frame was there, but they stayed open quite much.
around the corner over at Clayton's, you had Spinnakers.
Spinnakers in 2011 when I left after Scheibel sold. I left there, and they were in a little turmoil over there, and they asked me to come there. So I went there in 2011.
Now, where were you? I remember you had it going on because you had Thursday night, the fire department boys. You had a
Pizza and a
night,
pitcher, or wings and
something
pitcher, yes.
on Thursday nights.
On Thursday
was that at
nights.
Scheibel's or was that over
That was at both.
at both?
I had that at both,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, right there with the fire department connection.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Oh, yeah, we had tables of 15 or 20 on Thursday nights, yep. And then we actually, before the Green Door, I guess, was doing that a lot, we would get a whole lot of college kids on Thursday night.
It's funny how Thursday night became the night.
Pizza
That's my
night.
best night.
Yeah.
Hear people, and this was before the CWS, and they would take off on Fridays. Thursday sort of, remember Town Creek Marina had
Right.
the taco night?
Right.
That was the big thing. The people go down there on Thursday nights. It's just interesting how Thursday nights become
Right.
the party night.
Yep.
So was 2011, was that from
2011 to 14.
the 14 was
Yep.
at
Spinnakers.
At Spinnakers.
At Spinnakers. And I left there because John had the stroke and he couldn't walk or talk, and because I worked a full-time job all those years.
Well,
I worked 31 and a half years, which started out at PRB Associates and then turned into Northrop Grumman.
I had PRB on my
So
list here.
I was there 31 and a half years. So with all this restaurant, I still worked a
I
full-time
know.
job.
Well, so I was going to ask you that. Savings Bank of Baltimore was a full-time job,
Yep.
but then PRB was a full-time job.
Yep.
And so I don't know how you did it. You probably look
was a
back and
lot.
say you don't know how you did
It
it
was
either.
a lot. I was younger then.
Yeah, yeah, and you probably didn't know what you didn't know.
Right, right, right.
These people that have like the marinas, particularly when I see something like Dennis Point or even down at Point Lookout Marina, to have a marina, a restaurant, a bar, and have to manage all that, I go, that's a lot. And then the motels.
In the motel?
Down
Yep.
at 450, them having motels,
Yep.
having that staff.
At Scheibel's, that was part of my lease too. I ran the motel also with
Wow.
the restaurant. And it was back then you had good help too, and that made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
You had trusting help that you could.
Yep, that's
Trust.
kind of sad. I mean, that's kind of sad that,
Right.
that's no longer the case.
And then after Spinnakers, I went to work for 450. And of course, that was during COVID. And I guess we started there probably the end of July or August training. And I'm not computer savvy. I was always a pen and pencil girl. And then everything had to be on a little iPad. You had to wear a mask. You had to text the people when they showed up to let them know if their table was ready to come in. And of course, everything fogged up and whatever. So about the middle of October, I said, I'm sorry, gang, but this is just a little too much for me. So I didn't stay there very long as hostess, work in the front seat and the people.
Yeah, but that
and
was
whatever.
nice you went down. And
I did because I thought it would be good for people to see a familiar face.
I said the same thing. I said
Right.
Peggy and Kathy are smart to have Kay down there
Yeah.
because you're a good transition,
Yep.
and that would people. I think that's the key to business is be consistent.
Sure.
And if you're consistently mediocre, right? Like McDonald's.
Right.
McDonald's, you don't go to McDonald's for their food. You go because you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get in and get out of there. And
And
you,
the ice cream machine's not going to work.
is that the guy? I don't do ice cream. Dad and I were on a road trip once, and he never did fast food, but he said, I got to pee. So I pull into McDonald's. He said, where are you going? I said, bathrooms on that side, drive-throughs on this side. We pull all the way around, and we go by the back door. I said, right in here. So we go in the back door, and he goes, they don't have this place laid out right. I said, what are you doing? He said, you don't have to even walk past the counter to go to the bathroom. I said, Dad, they don't care if you buy anything in here. And so we come out, and he goes, you mean tell me they're all like this? I said, they're all like this. And so he was impressed at McDonald's. But back to restaurants, though. I read somewhere like 3 out of 5 restaurants go out of business like the first 5 years or maybe I think the statistic was 2 out of 5 the first year and then 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 in 5 years. Just look at the turnover. Well, I'm telling you, and we've got people around here that have been in restaurants kind of like you their whole life.
Right. But I think most of that is, Jay, they want too big of a menu. you don't need
Amen.
5 pages. You need
Amen.
2 pages of consistent good food. You don't need everything, because then you have to store it, you have to stock it. If it doesn't sell, then you're stuck with it going in the trash
Yep.
can. They
Yep.
try to do too much.
I agree. I hate going in a restaurant and getting like one of these Bibles.
Right.
It's
is
too
right.
much selection.
Just have a shorter menu and have it consistent and have it good. And I know Bruce and I never saw eye to eye, because even after he was gone and I was there, he wanted to run the show, because he was right there all the time, picking in your bacon and whatever. But when I did my menu, and of course my parents were older, and older people don't eat a whole lot. And they have issues just because of their timing. They're not going to come in there and pay you $20 for food and not going to be able to eat half of it. So I had the light fare menu.
You were smart.
He yelled at me all the time. Don't do that. Make them pay full price and let them take half of it home. And he yelled at me all the time about that menu. He never forgave me for putting light fare on the menu. But
It's funny you say that. I worked with a guy that he and his wife ate out every night or every other night, because they would take half home and either have it for lunch or have it for dinner again the next night. And that was back before. Now I think they are giving you bigger portions. It seems like they're all. And I remember your guy Billy. Remember Billy up at IHOP?
oh, Billy
Yeah.
Walker, yeah.
Billy Walker. He was
Walker.
talking about it one day, and he said around Lexington Park, they're all chasing the same dollar. And he said, and they want 5-star treatment, but they want 1-star payment. He
Right,
said
right.
and they're expecting 5-star
Right.
service. And he said, it's not like that.
Yeah.
What's your worst snow? That's the other thing restaurants have a hard time, is that their margin of profit is so narrow. Snowstorm,
Right.
hurricane,
Right.
fire, burner or oven go out, and they're
We had that at Shible's a lot, because they had old equipment.
That's
and
funny.
I would call Dickie Duke,
Dickie
because
Duke.
that's who Bruce always used. And I'd say, Dickie, just call me when you can come to work on this freezer. He'd say, I don't have to call you. I just climb in the window. I said, okay, whatever.
What do you mean by that?
That's what he did.
Oh.
If Bruce, if nobody was around and Bruce needed something done, he just climbed in the kitchen window and went on and fixed whatever he needed to fix. Send you a bill.
Now, how does that work? Like, say in a restaurant, like when you take it over, say, okay, Bruce owns the restaurant, and you lease the business from him.
Right.
Well, then who's that equipment on?
Okay, that all depends on what's in your lease. At that time, and of course that's been years ago, at that time, anything that cost more than $750, he was responsible for.
Oh,
I was responsible for the first $750,
okay.
and he would pay like,
So just the general maintenance
Right.
kind of stuff.
Right.
They would. Well, what about when something took a major?
a refrigerator or freezer,
Right.
he bought that.
Then he would.
Right,
Okay.
yes, I say, yes.
Well, part of the slumlord, I'm not saying Bruce was a slumlord, but part of, and I got apartments here, is when somebody brings me a problem and says this isn't working or something, my first thought is, what's the quickest and cheapest way I can fix it and make them happy?
Sometimes that doesn't work.
A
let me
lot of
tell
times
you.
that doesn't
When
work.
I went to Spinnaker's, I don't know if you remember, but we went through a period where as soon as you came in the front door, you smelled sewage. Because the bathrooms are right off
Right.
to the left when you came in. Had plumbers, had people, could not figure out what was happening there, because it wasn't any issue in the bathrooms or anything. And so we had a customer that came over by boat a lot from over around Reedville, a little red-headed guy, and I can't remember what his name was. And one day we were talking about it. He said, you let me find it. And the vent pipe that's supposed to go out of the ceiling was venting in the attic. And so that's where we were getting all
Wasn't
that.
going out.
Wasn't going out.
Is that all it
And
was?
he fixed that. And I mean, we went through that. People could not find the issue. And he just happened in there one day and he said, I'm going to fix that for you, because I tell you that it's a vent pipe that's bad.
And that's all it
And
was.
that's all it was.
And he probably didn't charge you,
No,
right?
he did not charge me.
Did you
Nope.
comp him? Did you buy
Yeah,
him
oh, certainly, certainly, certainly.
to solve that problem? Now, when you were down there, were they starting to do music? They were having bands on Friday night, or was that after you?
At Spinnaker's?
Yeah,
Yeah, we had music.
right.
Yeah, because IZ played for me a lot.
Okay.
Swarry,
Yes.
Linda and IZ Swarry, yeah, his
Yes.
bluegrass band.
Uh-huh.
He played a lot for me. Yeah.
Well, Joe they were trying to get that going. They had kind of like a Friday night down there, and it was starting to catch on a little bit. And I don't know if that was COVID or what happened there, but I think now the Legion's doing karaoke on Friday, which we were just talking to Polak. He was big on the karaoke. We were doing the karaoke out here on the porch. I never was a big fan of karaoke, but the music is fun to
It
have,
is fun.
and
It is
particularly it gives you a reason to come for the restaurant to stay. So, what's your favorite one around here now? When you go out, I'll take you to dinner. Where you want to go?
Captain Pat's.
Captain Pat's. Yeah.
Love the catfish
And no matter how far out he is,
there. I'd go to Captain Pat's.
people
I
will
like this.
drive.
Yep,
You build a quality home out in the woods.
yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Good catfish, yep.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful location.
Oh, it is. It is.
And you talk about the drive, but it is kind of fun to go way back there.
Talk about the drive. You go to Drift Inn.
Now, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to conclude with you're still in restaurants because your granddaughter you're still taking. Are you still doing
Yeah,
that?
yes, I'm still running Naya there on Fridays to work. Yep.
Uh-huh.
In 2023, Darren, that had Scheibels before me, in 2023, he calls me up and he said, "Kay, thinking about opening up a restaurant. You want to give me a little help?" So I said, "Sure, I'll give you a little help."
He was smart to contact you.
So we went and we got all the food figured out. And, I helped him up there 2 or 3 months to get open and running. And him and I are very close friends. And I said, "Darren, it's 38 miles for me. Most issues, if you have an issue, call me on the phone. If you really need me, I'll come." But now I go every Friday because I take
Still doing
Jay's-
that.
stepdaughter to work. Yep.
Now you should tell her about how you saved your money for a car to. No,
Listen,
I won't get in the middle.
no, don't.
I won't get in the middle.
No.
That's good that you're doing
Eyelashes
that.
and fingernails and come first now to the young people. She's not so worried about her license. So been trying to convince her because she's pretty shy, and she only went up there because she knew my granddaughter that was the prep cook, and so she went there. But
Well, now
she's-
this is your
it's
granddaughter
Jay's-
too.
My granddaughter, was the prep cook there until she just got a job with Gott Company. But
Well, then who's nine?
it's Jay's girlfriend's daughter.
Jay's girlfriend.
His
Okay,
daughter, yeah.
I'm too many granddaughters.
Right.
I see.
Right. So,
Well, how old's she?
16.
Okay. Well, that's I think waitressing and waiter, and how high school kids have to do community service for 40 hours. I think they ought to be made to do waitressing and waitering because that teaches you how to deal with people, customer service, money. I think that should be a mandatory course.
I would like to make a round through Lexington Park for most of the restaurants because one, they don't make them tie the hair up, and
Ooh.
they're supposed to do that. And you notice when you go how many. If your hair is below your shoulder, it's supposed to be tied up or away from your face.
Is that the health department?
That's health department.
Ah,
And another pet peeve I have is when they come back to the table, who had this? Who had this? I taught my waitresses much better than that. You start at a point at the table and you go around, and when you go back, you take it,
right,
But
right.
no, I was taught by the best, Gloria Nagel, as far as that.
See?
Serve from the left and you pick up on the right and pick up people's plates.
Hey, I got one for you. Iris Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
right, was working down at, I'll say where it is. It's down at Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And she no longer working there. And I said, Iris, what happened? And she said, David's got all these crazy rules, like all the food has to come out at the same time. And she said, I got a table of 6. There's no way I can bring that big tray out. She said, I can't, she said, I either need help or I have to make 2 trips. And she said, and he didn't want to hear that. He said, the food all has to come out at the same time. So I know David, we're friends. I went to David and I said, hey, David, what is this about you make your waitresses bring all the food out at the same time? And he said, J Scott, just because you don't go to better restaurants and notice it, but if you ever notice, the better restaurants bring all the food out at the same time. And I went, and I had never noticed that.
And an
right?
expediter, usually they have an expediter, have somebody with them that brings it, and it all
Well,
comes at the same
now
time.
I wish you hadn't told me that, because we go out with another couple and their food comes first, and you're sitting there. Go ahead and eat. Go ahead, yours will be right with you. And then you, hey, did you forget my? And I go, David was right. And I noticed that the ones that have their act together, it all comes out at the same time. And like you said, they do. And I always tease the waiter or waitress, and I'll say, how do you remember who gets what? Hey, well, I knew they had like a little system that they could remember that.
Yep.
We went to Ocean City one night, and there was a bunch of us, and we were at this Bon Buffet up on 69th Street there, and there was like 8 or 9 of us at this table. And the guy went around and took all of our orders and never wrote anything down. And when he came back, he doled it out, and it was everything was right.
Have
Well,
a recorder in his pocket.
I don't know, but the next day, I went to the 7-Eleven early in the morning for coffee, and over there, the 7-Eleven, I don't know why they're elevated. So I guess if they get robbed, they're looking down. I don't know what the story was, but when the guy told me that'd be $1.90, I recognized this voice, and I said, "Hey, you were my waiter last night." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Don't you remember?" I said, "I was with the party of 8." And he goes, "Oh yeah, you had the surf and turf, and your wife had." And I said, "How do you do that?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "Just something I've learned how to do." He said, "Then again, you see what I'm doing? I'm a waiter at the Bon Buffet, and I'm here at 7-Eleven. It's not getting me anywhere." So if you had to give some advice, I'm going to open a restaurant here at Buzzy's, right? Buzzy's Bistro. What would be your 3? What 3 things do I need to do? Good help, good cook. What
That's
do you?
basically what you need. Good
Good-
help, good ambiance, or
Well, like you said about Dennis Point, that's people will drive to go, and I was just
drive.
teasing about making
Right.
restaurants too much
right.
work.
Oh yes.
Too much
It
work.
is.
In
It's a
fact,
lot of work.
Nolly's. That
Leonardtown.
She was up here at Rayleigh's for a nanosecond, and she came down and actually said something to me. She wanted to open up a real Italian restaurant, and I said, "I don't think Buzzy's is where you want to be. I don't think we could pull that off." But she was serious. She was looking, and you see how. Now we like that. We haven't been lately, but it's small. And it's very good. I enjoy going in and out of there, up around Leonardtown. We've been doing the mac and cheese for their smash burgers. How did smash burgers get to be the thing?
I don't know.
Was it cheaper to mash them up and make them look like they're bigger than they are?
Sign of the times.
Sign of the times. Okay, well, anything else?
Oh, well,
I got your card. I like this card. I'm going to make a copy of that.
I
and
don't
put
know if
that-
you've talked to Jonathan at Showtime, but he tells me I'm going to work for him.
He tells you?
I guess one of his waitresses is going on maternity leave, and so he said, "When I move over to the new place, you're gonna fill in for Sharice for me while she's out." So he told me last week, he said, "You got about 2 more weeks of retirement, Kay." So
Well, they've been doing 2 more weeks. I go
So
on
I
Wednesday to
told him.
breakfast.
I said, "Jonathan, not doing no computers all the way. I don't do computers." He said, "Nope, we're writing everything down." I said,
Good old fashioned.
But-
You want fries with
But
that?
yeah, but he's been messing with me for that. So,
Okay, well that's a good plug. We'll see you at
so might see me
Showtime
at
Deli.
Showtime Deli. He could very well
That sounds good.
in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give me 5. And thank you.